For being with us, Mr. Lekota. So your fight has failed. Are you disappointed?
No, it's not failed. It's not failed. This is just the beginning of a process. It's a long process that lies ahead. It's important to understand that what we had was not a referendum where you can say it was a democratic process and this is what has been decided. So that it must be challenged, first of all. But the second thing is, even if...
But isn't Parliament the people's representatives? They're allowed to make these decisions.
No, but my point is, this is not a referendum. If you wanted to test...
So what is when do we have to have a referendum? When does that have to be the option?
If you want a reliable test of national opinion, you require a referendum in which all citizens may participate. This thing that we did, in a province you have 3 public meetings or 4, where most of the people, working men and women, are at work, and only a few who are hanging around can come there, and even amongst them, just a few could talk about things. And then, of course, you have the process in which many...
Mr. Lekota, if most people had their way, we'd have the death penalty. We don't. We have elected representatives who work their magic in Parliament and they make decisions.
No. The fact of the matter is, if you want to test national opinion, you must have a reliable test, and that must be a referendum in which every citizen can participate. You cannot take even proportional representation where people are elected by proportional representatives, and in fact you vote for a party and the party choose for you who must go to Parliament. In the very first place, there's something seriously wrong still with our electoral system, but we'll talk about that later. My point at this stage is that this is challengeable. There are many submissions that were made, more than 400,000, that came to Parliament, which were not taken into account by the committee that was dealing with this.
Your opposition for land expropriation has been seen as a cynical attempt to get white votes, is it? Try to get a showing at the polls?
No, this was not my opposition. We are committed to the Constitution, and the Constitution prescribes that no one may be deprived of their property. That's not me. That's the Constitution saying so. It does say expropriation of land is allowed, subject to compensation. It does say if there was to be expropriation, it has to be under a law of general application. Such a law has not been passed yet.
Why are you worried? Because surely this can go to the Constitutional Court. I don't know if you're planning to go to the courts, but that is then the body that will strike it down.
The Constitution prescribes that before you expropriate, you must pass a law of general application, which therefore must not...
Therefore the Constitutional Court won't allow this to happen, right?
No, but the worst thing is...
It'll get struck down eventually.
No. The worst thing is that the President has already threatened sections of the population that he's going to take their properties and give it to others. That is discriminatory. That is in violation of the Constitution. And I'm very curious to see, how are you going to take the bill, in the Bill of Rights, if you take some rights from any sections of the population, then there is no more Bill of Rights. And all of us have no rights. So we are patient.
So you believe in property rights, because again, some are seeing this as an attempt to get white votes. So you're saying this is something you're passionate about?
No, I am very passionate about my loyalty. I took an oath of office to respect, to obey, to uphold the Constitution. And I must uphold the Constitution. If it says we may not take property of anybody, I'll defend that right, because I took the oath to do so. If it says we may not take property of people arbitrarily, I will defend that right, because I took an oath to do so. People must not think that we take the oath just to cheat and lie. I'm not doing that.
AfriForum, it could be argued, has been fearmongering. If you look at it rationally, what is the end point? Say there is, say it actually goes through and passes constitutional muster, land expropriation without compensation. What are your fears? What do you think will happen?
Well, first of all, there are many people who are innocent people who earned the land they own. There are people who came here to plow sugar cane. And when it has finished, as their parents or great-grandparents who were indentured laborers were freed. And they worked, some came to the Transvaal to work in the mines. They have been able to buy themselves property of their own. Why should you take it without compensation? There are people that came here as slaves.
But what if it's only legitimate
let me finish this point. Please let me make this point. There are people who came here as slaves from the Philippine Islands, from Malay Peninsula. And they were slaves. When they were freed from slavery, they had nothing. And then they worked themselves like all of us and earned some property of their own. Why should it be taken without compensation?
Surely this can be done responsibly. Many would argue that the Constitution already allows for expropriation without compensation, but nobody has used it as a blunt force.
Ma'am, are you saying, or are those who are saying so, are they saying you can take somebody's property from them responsibly without compensation?
If there's a legitimate land claim, perhaps.
No, that is provided for in this Constitution. It says people who can bring forward title deeds and say, this used to be my grandfather's property, and we would like to have it back. It was taken under the 1913 Act or any other act of discrimination. They are entitled to restitution. All that we need is to go to the deeds offices and check where that property is, its history and everything. The government of today must pay compensation to those who have acquired it, because it was not given as freebies. It was bought from the apartheid government or other governments before it. Once you want to take it, please give them, compensate them. Don't correct an atrocity by creating a new atrocity.
Very quickly, COPE went from 37 MPs in 2009 to just 3 in 2014. Do you think this strategy will pay off? What can we expect next year?
No, this is not a trick to get votes. I've already said to you, we took oaths of office to uphold the Constitution. So don't make it an electoral issue, a cheating thing and so on. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with that this Constitution must be implemented as it was conceived, and those of us who swore oath to uphold it must do so. Otherwise, we'll be judged harshly by history.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. That was the leader of COPE, Mosiuoa Lekota.